What's up guys, welcome back to a new episode of my Uncharted Nathan Drake cosplay little series that I have going. In today's episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how I made the grappling hook from Uncharted 4. So this is a grappling hook that both Nathan Drake and Sam Drake have. Chloe also has it in the game Uncharted The Lost Legacy. So this grappling hook is actually the reason that I've had such a big delay in some videos. This grappling hook took a lot of planning and a lot of failure. I'm not going to go into too much detail about why this took so long. So in my last semester of college, I had a class that had 3D printers in it. I thought to myself that these 3D printers are going to be really helpful to me in this cosplay journey. However, these were very small printers. These are printers that the school bought in bulk. So because I decided I was going to 3D print this grappling hook, I went to a website called Tinkercad. It's free. It's pretty easy to use. There's a big community behind it. So I designed the grappling hook in Tinkercad. But the thing was that these printers were so small that I had to print the body of the grappling hook and the prongs into pieces. Because of this, I figured that maybe the grappling hook's just not going to be as strong. And when I'm finished with the class, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to use the printers anymore. So what I decided to do was I was going to print all the pieces out, put them together, and then make a silicone mold of it. However, I kept facing a problem where the neck of the grappling hook will just pop off of the body because it's just way too skinny. I tried a different variety of resins, but they all turned out the same. So the whole idea was pretty much scrapped. So later on, I got myself my own 3D printer. It's the CR10S Pro. It's a pretty decent sized printer and a pretty decent price. So the printing skill is about 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters by 400 millimeters. I was able to do the whole thing in one go. So the main body of the grappling hook was fully attached. However, like I said before, the neck was just too skinny. It actually broke off way too easily that I knew for a fact that this is not gonna work. So after a lot of planning, I don't know why I didn't think of this before. So I decided to print the main body of the grappling hook in two pieces. One's gonna be the body and the other piece is gonna be the neck and the head. With these two pieces separated, I'm also gonna print them with a hole going straight down the middle. And finally, I was able to put a threaded rod through the whole piece. And that's gonna be part of the process that I'm gonna be showing you guys in the video. There are going to be links in the description for most of the products that I used in this video. So go ahead and check those out if you want. I'm also gonna be including my Instagram. Nice plug. So in a while after this video is posted, these grappling hooks are going to be available on my Etsy store, which is also going to be linked below if you want to go ahead and check that out. So enough plugging my own stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and send you off into the video, and I hope you guys follow along. If you can make your own, if you do make your own, go ahead and tag me on Instagram. More plugs. But with all that said, let's continue to the video. These two are what I've 3D printed for the main body of the grappling hook. I printed this in PETG, and you can see I have this little thing sticking out. So it comes off. The other two came off when I was taking it off the bed of the printer. But you can see it's the main body. Here's all the nasty supports and overhangs. I'm gonna clean up this bottom part so it doesn't look as nasty. After I finish sanding the whole body, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with this piece. And you can see on the top, there are some holes. So after a bunch of trial and error, I've realized that this end is probably way too skinny, because with every single one, I've done drop tests with them and each one of them have just broken off. On this edge right here, I've realized that if I didn't do 100% infill, it just breaks right off. But now you can see it's a lot more durable now. So is this one, because it's also 100% infill. After a bunch of trial and error from this just breaking off too easily, I decided I'm gonna print them with the hole going straight down as far as I can. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this rod right through it. This is what I used. So it's a 1/4 of an inch thick. You can see it's pretty much a giant screw. And what I'm gonna do is cut this into length, and then I'm just gonna screw it right through the middle here, and then screw the top part in. And this metal rod is gonna be a really strong core, and it's gonna prevent it from just breaking off too easily. That's pretty much it on the construction. Later on, I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna go ahead and paint it. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and start sanding it and try to get it as smooth as I possibly can. So I believe that this is 60 grit sandpaper. So what I'm just gonna do is sand it until I don't see any of these dark lines. And that's pretty much the reason why I print with black filament, is just because it's easier to see those lines. So I'm gonna go with 60 grit. After I don't see any more of these black lines, I'm gonna go ahead and move down a grit. Just keep going down until it's very polished and refined. So a little tip, when you're using sandpaper and you're like gonna put a lot of pressure on it, especially on a spot that's as skinny as this piece right here, it's good that when you're sanding it, it's good to constantly look at what you're sanding, because sometimes you're putting this much pressure on it, you can't really tell if you're perfectly straight with it. Sometimes when I was sanding, I would be putting a bunch of pressure on it. I would keep sanding and keep sanding, and then I would look away, and all of a sudden this area is rounded out because I was putting the pressure, I wasn't putting the pressure straight, I was putting it at an angle. So when you're sanding, I find it helpful. It takes a little longer, yeah, but it's a lot more helpful, especially with something like this. It's like metal. It's supposed to look like it was factory made. You don't want random rounded edges that you do where you don't need them. Just a very small tip. I'm gonna go ahead and spray a coat of filler primer. So even though I sanded it smooth, there's still like tiny scratches. And from the print, you can see here, even like tiny little holes. The filler primer is basically gonna fill in most of the imperfections here. And stuff that may be too big, like you can see in there, it's kind of, those are kind of deep. That could probably be filled in by bondo. But as of now, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little coat of this. So I left it for a day, and now it is completely dry, and you can see it taking its shape. There are some like scratches from the really rough sandpaper, and up here with the loop there's like a little layer line there. Some places where it's like there's deep holes here, so that's something that could cover up with bondo there and here as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and patch those in and then sand them down, and then sand the whole thing down again with my sponge sandpaper. Alright, there we go. Just some bondo where I think it needed it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry. This doesn't really take too long, maybe about 15 minutes, and then I'll get back to sanding it down. Okay, so after that sanding, I did an extra coat of filler primer. What I want to try to do is some wet sanding. This is something I actually haven't done before. I'm going to go ahead and use this 220 grit sandpaper. You can see how extra fine that is. As far as I know, you wet the sandpaper and then you sand. So this is completely new to me. I guess it's a bit dirty, but ooh, yeah, I mean, it's working fine. I'm not pressing down too hard. I don't want to like cause any big gashes or something to the filler primer or to the top coating. But from what I could feel, this is working very well. So you can see it is taking its toll on the sandpaper, but I guess that's normal. Alright, so it's drying out and it's very smooth. Wet sanding actually worked very well. And so now I'm going to show you how I'm going to make it look like steel. So this is a technique I found browsing Instagram. The Instagram handle where I found it is i.d.cosplay. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link in the description just so you can see like the actual post. So basically what they said was they have some rub and buff. This is the ebony color. This is the silver leaf color. You see I already have some in my hands because I was practicing this. I'm still not sure if I fully mastered what I'm supposed to do, but so from what I got was roughly and pretty messily just add the ebony around. I'm really trying to get it into the corners because I figured, you know, stuff builds up. And then you do pretty much the same with the silver. Alright, so pretty much done with the silver. Now what to do is go back with 222 grit sandpaper and then just go at it. So now basically what I'm doing is doing like, I guess some form of dry brushing where I'm just getting a really tiny bit and just I keep going over with both the silver and sometimes the black, the ebony, until I'm like really satisfied with how it's turning out. Alright, so I've sanded down my prongs. You can see I went ahead and spray painted them black instead. I feel like they used the black rub and buff because it was foam and rub and buff is flexible. So I think that's like the reason they used it. So I went ahead and spray painted mine black to see if like it has the same effect. So here's a problem I came up with my grappling hook. So you can see here, this corner right there, it's actually a little too big to fit into here and maneuver properly. So you can see I just barely had to sand it down. For all of the ones I'm 3D printing, I'm gonna leave a little bit of extra space right there, just so that I don't have to do that. And the reason I'm gonna go ahead and do that instead of just printing these a little smaller is just in case it's just so that there's a little more support here, and it's not gonna if you just so happen to drop this, it's not gonna break off, which is what I want from these grappling hooks. I don't want them to break on people that decide to get one. So what I'm gonna do now is do the same thing with my rub and buff if I can find it. So get that rub and buff, just do that here and then lightly sand it, and we'll see how these turn out. Now, so this is fine, but the only thing I have to do is make this cylindrical part just a little bit smaller and maybe a little bit thicker, just so that in case you drop it, this threaded piece doesn't break off. So that's something I'm going to make sure to include, and also to make sure it just fits better when this is connected. Alright, so this is the finish that I'm going to put on all of these pieces. This was the one that was used in the Instagram post. I've been looking for a nice gloss finish sort of thing to use. I thought this would be a good time to experiment this one. So it is for airbrushing. I'm actually really new to airbrushing. From everything I saw, you should dilute this just a little bit with water and just spray an even coat throughout the entire thing. I thought someone was gonna ask it, and I figured I'm gonna replace this one anyway. I might as well try it out. It is 3D printed after all. It's plastic, it's not actual metal. Will the grappling hook be able to support you? I'm gonna say no. Keep in mind that this grappling hook is made out of plastic and not metal like it's originally supposed to be designed for. However, I wanted to see some extra testing just to see how much that this could take. So I did a few drop tests and the footage corrupted. However, I do have the results. So here's the outcome of the drop test. So each of these were dropped about 10 feet high onto straight concrete. So like you saw when I tested the weight limit, the prong fell off, so that was already gone. However, when I dropped it about 10 feet high, this piece happened. So there's a little crack that came off, and it also cracked off one of these little circles here. And with that, the whole thing came out. So if you're planning on throwing this onto grass, I don't expect it to break. The only real damage that happened to this piece when I was doing my drop test was a little screw piece I had here broke off. So keeping that in mind, if you decide to purchase one of these on my Etsy store, I'm going to be including a couple more of those just in case. So that's all I have to say on this video. So share my channel with anyone you think will be interested in this sort of stuff. Leave a comment on however you think I could improve with future videos or future projects. I hope you guys were able to follow along. I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I do. Goodbye.